Good morning. My name is Nicole Figueredo. I'm the Public Relations Coordinator for Pinellas County Utilities. Today, I will be assisting the Wastewater Stormwater Partnership Steering Committee with their presentation in the role of virtual meeting assistants. I will now ask Commissioner Justice to officially open the meeting.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the 2020 virtual meeting of the Wastewater Stormwater Partnership Steering Committee. We're making through some very challenging times this year, and the pandemic has caused all of us to make significant changes to our everyday lives. Throughout all of this, our Wastewater Stormwater Technical Group has continued making significant strides towards improving the critical infrastructure that supports public health and the environment. Before we get to today's update, let's provide a little context and background. The Wastewater Stormwater Partnership was formed as a task force in October of 2016 to bring together representatives of Pinellas County, our municipal partners, and our agency partners to collaborate in addressing our critical wastewater and stormwater infrastructure needs. The partnership is made up of the steering committee of elected officials and policymakers, and the technical working group, whose members include county and municipal experts in wastewater and stormwater infrastructure. We really appreciate you all taking time to be involved in this valuable collaborative. Out of an initial action plan developed in January of 2017, the partnership identified three primary goals for our wastewater stormwater infrastructure: avoiding and mitigating spills, seeking opportunities to address drainage issues that affect the sanitary sewer system, and increasing treatment capacity and system resiliency. Members of our technical working group are here to provide updates about work that's been completed, is underway, as well as our future plans to further these goals. We're excited to have our presenters today, and they are Megan Ross, Utilities Director for Pinellas County, John Palanchar, Water Resources Director for the City of St. Petersburg, Tommy Kiger, Wastewater Division Manager for the City of Tarpon Springs, Nan Bennett, Public Works Director for the City of Oldsmar, David Porter, Public Utilities Director for the City of Clearwater, Mike Clark, Public Works Director for the City of St. Pete Beach, Shelby Bowman, Assistant Director of Environmental Services for the City of Largo, and Paul Mycelis, Operations and Watershed Planning Section Manager for Pinellas County. Now I'd like to turn it over to our very first presenter, Megan Ross with Pinellas County. Megan.
Thank you, Commissioner Justice. And good morning, everyone. I am Megan Ross, the Utilities Director for Pinellas County. I am pleased to be here speaking with so many of our local leaders and community partners about the ongoing work and accomplishments of the Wastewater and Stormwater Partnership. Before I continue, I would like to provide you with the website address where you can learn more about our partnership, which is shown on this slide at www.pinellascounty.org/partnership. Today, our objective is to present information about multiple projects and programs throughout the county. During this presentation, we will review the partnership's goals and action plan, our current projects and accomplishments, followed by a question and answer session. After 4 years of collaboration, we are excited about the future of the partnership and how we can continue improving our services to our county, local municipalities, businesses, residents, and citizens. At the end of the presentation, we will have an opportunity for all to submit questions for our speaker panel. There are a couple ways that you can ask your question in this virtual platform. First, you may use the Q&A chat box located at the bottom of your computer screen to type your question. With this option, you can enter your question at any time during the presentation, and it will be queued up to be answered at the end of the presentation. Secondly, you may ask your question verbally by clicking the raise hand button during our Q&A session at the end of the presentation. That button is also located at the bottom of your screen as shown here. You will then be called upon to ask your question to the speaker panel. And finally, if you are calling in on the phone, simply press *9 on your phone to raise your hand and indicate that you have a question. To review, the Wastewater Stormwater Partnership identified and agreed upon 3 primary goals that needed to be addressed, as noted by Commissioner Justice: to avoid and mitigate spills, overflows, and releases of sewage into the environment, particularly ones that affect water bodies, to seek opportunities to address drainage and stormwater issues that have an impact on the sewer system, and to increase capacity and resiliency of collective sewer system and wastewater treatment infrastructure. Pinellas County is home to 24 different municipalities which serve hundreds of thousands of residents and millions of visitors every year. 17 of those municipalities own or operate wastewater and stormwater systems. Additionally, there are 13 wastewater treatment facilities. These municipalities make up our wastewater stormwater partnership. The purpose of this partnership is to coordinate and collaborate on ways which we can reduce sanitary sewer overflow events. As you all know, this has been an eventful and challenging year so far. Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, our wastewater and stormwater professionals have continued to deliver critical services to our communities under modified protocols. I can assure you that although the current pandemic has provided for operational challenges, it has only served to further our commitment to this community. Our role has never been clearer. We are critical infrastructure essential workers, and water resources provide for the quality of life that we rely upon. Throughout the past several months, our teams have been breaking ground on new projects. Now more than ever, we need to focus on water and wastewater infrastructure as it is vital to protecting public health. Water resources are integral to so many facets of our everyday lives. Behind the scenes of the beautiful beaches, waterways, hospitals, and emergency services that comprise this wonderful county lies a plethora of infrastructure that supports and maintains the vibrance of our region. As water resource professionals, supporting this infrastructure is our job and our mission. This slide depicts our strategic action plan that furthers the partnership's goals. There are 7 action plan elements represented under the umbrella shown here. When all of these elements are brought together as one unified plan, they provide for strength and resiliency in our wastewater and stormwater systems, very similar to how an umbrella would protect you from the rain. These action elements include the following. The first is inflow and infiltration studies. This includes the assessment of our sewer collection system to identify areas of groundwater or surface water intrusion. The next is system hydraulic bottlenecks. A hydraulic bottleneck is a pipe in the sewer system that fills up with rain and is too small to allow for all the water through, causing a backup and an overflow to occur. The third is rehabilitation and replacement. This action involves improving or replacing our aging infrastructure, including cracked and leaking pipes that can cause additional water to enter the system. This can also include wastewater treatment plant upgrades. Next, we have stormwater drainage improvements. This action involves identifying areas where water is collecting or flooding during a rainstorm, which can lead to excess water entering the wastewater system. Eliminating this stormwater flooding with proper drainage will remove that strain on the sewer system. The fifth is resource sharing and maximization. This is the component that holds the partnership together. This action involves being a good neighbor, sharing our resources, and working together collaboratively for the good of our entire community and customers. The next is public dialogue. This action involves recognizing that we as a community have input and involvement with our environment. It starts with proper education of how to inspect your own private home sewer line so that it does not negatively impact the sewer system and the environment. Additionally, people must understand that the toilet is not a trash can. Understanding that flushing wipes and other things down the toilet can lead to severe clogs and blockages resulting in overflows. And lastly, we have legislation, providing a framework by which we can educate, assist, and enforce proper maintenance of sewer lines for our customers as well as private citizens. Through an investment in wastewater and stormwater infrastructure and programs that support all 7 of these elements, we will continue to further progress towards meeting the partnership's goals. So today we have several presentations from a few of our partners as shown here, including Pinellas County, as well as the cities of St. Petersburg, Tarpon Springs, Oldsmar, Clearwater, St. Pete Beach, and Largo. Now I would like to introduce our first presenter, John Palanchar, Water Resources Director for the City of St. Petersburg, to speak on their flow monitoring program.
Thank you, Megan. And thank you to the steering committee for your continued support and the opportunity to present today. As Megan said, my name is John Palanchar, and I'm the Water Resources Director for the City of St. Petersburg, responsible for drinking water, wastewater, and reclaimed water for the city and our surrounding wholesale customers. Today, St. Petersburg is pleased to present the flow monitoring and private lateral replacement programs. These are two interconnected projects under the partnership umbrella. The City of St. Petersburg has 3 wastewater treatment plants with a combined permitted treatment capacity of 56 million gallons per day on average, and a peak capacity of 157 million gallons per day. St. Pete has about 887 miles of gravity sewers that go to 82 pump stations and move that wastewater to 3 treatment plants for reuse or disposal. Now, if you recall from a previous slide that Megan had presented, the total average treatment capacity for the partnership is 155 million gallons per day. This 155 million gallons, coincidentally enough, is the same volume that St. Petersburg saw during the peak of Tropical Storm Hermine in September of 2016. Thus, the impetus for the partnership and the City of St. Petersburg's participation and commitment to these partnership goals. The flow monitoring and private lateral projects support 5 of the partnership's key action plan objectives: inflow and infiltration studies, rehabilitation and replacement, public dialogue, legislation, and resource sharing and maximization. The City of St. Petersburg provides wastewater collection and treatment services to almost 337,000 people in the City of St. Petersburg and our neighboring communities of Tierra Verde, Gulfport, St. Pete Beach, Treasure Island, as well as contiguous portions of unincorporated Pinellas County. On March 12, 2018, the City of St. Petersburg entered into an interlocal agreement with Pinellas County to implement a flow monitoring project that was recommended by the Wastewater Stormwater Task Force. This enabled flow monitoring at designated locations within the city to measure inflow and infiltration, also known as I&I, of stormwater and groundwater into the city's sanitary sewer system. The city provided the initial funding of $500 for the installation of over 80 flow monitors and 20 rain gauges. And Pinellas County has since reimbursed the City of St. Petersburg $244,000 as agreed upon out of the county's BP settlement funds. The flow monitoring is online and providing valuable information about where inflow and infiltration is occurring. And our private lateral replacement pilot project is just one such example. So the private lateral is the portion of the pipe that connects a structure's plumbing to the sanitary sewer system, the publicly owned portion. It's commonly known that stormwater and groundwater getting into the sanitary sewer causes a burden on the sewer system and our wastewater treatment plants. Abnormally extreme inflow and infiltration can result in sewer system overflows or inadequate treatment at the plants, resulting in releases of raw or partially treated wastewater into the environment. However, even during manageable events, this inflow and infiltration places an increased burden on utilities. It makes operating the system more challenging and increases the operations and maintenance costs. Imagine having to buy and maintain a car that you drive every day to work, but a couple days out of the year, it has to drive the Firestone Grand Prix of St. Petersburg, trademark. However, the race is unscheduled, the course is different every race. Oh, and by the way, there's a viral pandemic occurring. That would be an expensive car. and it would require a lot of maintenance every day so that it could be ready to race at the drop of a hat. So, as you can see, reducing that I&I has a potential for wide-ranging benefits. If we look at a Water Environment Research Foundation study, a reported range of private sector inflow and infiltration contributions range from 7% to 80% with an average of 40%. This is based on a survey of 26 utilities across the United States. 7 to 80%, that's quite a range. This leaves us asking the question, for Pinellas County, how much of that I&I problem can we fix by just fixing the public side of the pipe? And how much has to happen on the private side of the pipe? And is there a cost savings to the utility? What are the system benefits of fixing the private laterals? And if so, how much? What is the percentage for our area? These are important questions that our private lateral replacement pilot project seeks to answer and will provide a benefit to every member of the partnership. The private lateral replacement pilot project is estimated to cost approximately $1.2 million and is partially funded out of a pollution prevention project that the city has with the Department of Environmental Protection in lieu of consent order penalties. Two of the study areas that were selected where previous flow monitoring had indicated substantial I&I. These two study areas also contain a housing stock built between the late 1950s and early 1970s, which corresponds to a period when Orangeburg pipe was being used as a material for lateral pipes. Orangeburg pipe laterals are generally considered a likely source of I&I. Flow monitoring of the study area began last year prior to the rainy season, and it will conclude when sufficient data is gathered following the completion of the lateral rehabilitation and replacements. The study is broken up into two groups, a control group and a study group. This will help ensure that the resulting data provided by the pilot will be reliable. The original goal of the pilot was to inspect 300 homes and rehabilitate a maximum of 150 laterals by the end of August 2020. Between February and June of this year, there were 71 inspections conducted and 39 laterals have been rehabilitated. So, as you can see, we're well on our way, but we have a long way to go and we need to get the word out. It would be great if you share this information with anyone that you may know in these study areas, because the more participation that we have, the better results we'll have to provide to the partnership. The pilot project provides $800 for homeowners to have their private plumber inspect the lateral. If the lateral is found defective by the plumber and is confirmed by St. Petersburg review of the inspection documentation, then the homeowner can be reimbursed up to $8,000 for the rehabilitation. This reimbursement can go straight to the plumber so that there are no out-of-pocket expenses for the homeowner. By far, each customer's favorite part of participation in the program is the minimal or no out-of-pocket expenses. Once those rehabilitations are completed, then that percentage of I&I that was eliminated can be calculated and a system benefit can be determined. This information can then be used to determine the level of investment that is appropriate for private lateral replacement of similar housing stock here in Pinellas County. That brings this project full circle from inception at the partnership to funding through relationships built in the partnership to delivering actionable information back to the partnership, not to mention helping some residents improve their plumbing along the way. Now, I'd like to hand the presentation over to Thomas Kiger, Wastewater Division Manager for the City of Tarpon Springs, who will be talking to you about their lift station maintenance program. Tommy?
Thank you, John, and good morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Thomas Kiger, and I'm the Wastewater Division Manager here at the City of Tarpon Springs. Today, we are going to be talking about our lift station maintenance program and some of the actions that we've taken as a little bit smaller utility to address sewer overflows. Looking back in time, 2016 was a challenging year for the city from a wastewater perspective. We had 25 sanitary sewer overflows, which was a little bit of a record high for us. And many of these were associated with Hurricane Hermine. After this event, the city joined this partnership as an opportunity to collaborate with nearby utilities to solve our wastewater challenges. One action that came out of this partnership was a renewed focus on our wastewater lift stations and our repair and replacement program. Here in the city of Tarpon Springs, we're a coastal community. Everyone knows the city for its sponge diving history and is a unique Greek American cultural center. Tarpon is one of the few places in America where you might be greeted with a friendly kalimera rather than a standard good morning. The sponge docks on the Anclote River are really at the heart of the city. Our water resources are a critical part of this cultural heritage, and protecting our water resources is critical to maintaining the ongoing history of the city and our local tourist economy. Here in utilities, maintaining our wastewater collection system is the first step in protecting our local environment and our local businesses. Here in the city of Tarpon Springs, we operate a wastewater utility that serves over 20,000 people and is made up of 149 miles of sewer main, over 2,200 manholes, and 61 city-owned lift stations. These lift stations are the first line of defense to prevent sanitary sewer overflows. Back in 2016, nearly half of our sewer overflows during Hurricane Hermine were at our city lift stations. Since then, and after collaborating with this partnership, we renewed our focus on the lift station maintenance program. We increased the frequency of inspections, we dedicated new staff to the program, and we created new SOPs for lift station inspections to improve performance. We now have 8 full-time staff in the lift station maintenance program, and we inspect every lift station in the city every 3 weeks. This means that our staff does roughly 1,500 inspections per year, or roughly 180 inspections per staff member. Our total operation and the maintenance budget for the wastewater division is $3.9 million, and nearly $600,000 of this is budgeted for utilities maintenance, which largely consists of our lift station maintenance program. We've recently invested in additional SCADA integration additionally for our lift stations, allowing for remote operation and monitoring and improved response times if there is a problem. All of these efforts have combined to allow us to ensure that our wastewater system can convey wastewater to our wastewater treatment facility safely and effectively. Once at our wastewater treatment facility, we provide advanced treatment. There are also 76 privately owned lift stations throughout the city. These lift stations are owned by local businesses, apartment complexes, and other private entities throughout the city. To ensure that these lift stations are maintained in proper working condition, these are monitored through the city's environmental management program by the city's environmental inspector. Our environmental inspector does quarterly inspections of all private lift stations in the city and also provides technical assistance to private owners to help ensure proper operations. We've also recently added important information on these private lift stations, including emergency contact information, to our GIS system. This allows us to respond quickly and effectively in the event of emergency at a privately owned lift station. Overall, the most important part of our program is getting results. Back in 2016, we had 25 sewer overflows throughout the city. And since then, we've dropped that number to only 14 overflows in 2017. And this year, we've only had 1 reported sewer overflow to date, knock on wood. This is a lot of this improvement is due to our lift station maintenance program. And in 2019, we only had 3 sewer overflows at our lift stations. And in 2020, we have not had a single lift station overflow reported to date. All of these improvements are helping to create a more resilient wastewater system, and participating in the partnership has helped us in these improvements. Here at the City of Tarpon Springs, making continuous improvements and participating in this partnership is part of our ongoing efforts to protect our environment, the public health, and our local heritage. And now, I thank you all for your time, and it's my distinct pleasure to introduce Nan Bennett with the City of Oldsmar.
Good morning. I'm Nan Bennett, I'm the Public Works Director for the City of Oldsmar, and I'm pleased to be here and discuss with you the City of Oldsmar's lift station maintenance program. Oldsmar's lift station maintenance approach has many similarities to the Tarpon Springs program just highlighted, but also a number of differences that address the specific needs of Oldsmar. The task force elements covered by this program are rehabilitation and replacement, and legislation, and of course, resource sharing and maximization. Oldsmar's wastewater collection system includes 27 public lift stations that lift or push the sewage to the wastewater treatment facility. Additionally, there are nearly twice as many privately owned lift stations that lift sewage from our customers' property into the city collection system. Oldsmar's approach to monitoring and maintaining lift stations is twofold, with programs to ensure that both the publicly owned and operated as well as the private lift stations are maintained. This slide shows a typical city lift station. The facility is integrated into a park-like setting. The station equipment is primarily underground with some electrical and control panels visible above ground. And the city has a robust monitoring and preventative maintenance program for city-owned stations to ensure that each station is continuously monitored by our supervisory controls and data acquisition or SCADA system located at our water reclamation facility. This system allows electronic monitoring of pump operations, wet well levels, and other indicators that notify staff if maintenance attention is required. Electronic reports of vital operating parameters on each station are also reviewed daily, and every station is visited and maintained at least weekly. Each station is also equipped with a current transformer or CT meter to monitor amperage draw that will indicate additional loads, wear, or clogging before pump failure. The City of Oldsmar hosts a large industrial base that discharges industrial wastewater to the collection system. Some of the lift stations that process industrial waste are also equipped with pH probes that act as an early warning alarm if changes in water chemistry occur that could negatively impact the biological treatment of our facility, biological processes at our treatment facility, so that the city has time to respond. Between a routine maintenance schedule and early detection devices to protect our system, we've been able to minimize failures at our city lift stations. However, it was identified a few years back that some of the privately owned lift stations continued to fail and experience sanitary sewer overflows due to a lack of maintenance. To address this problem, Oldsmar initiated a private lift station inspection program about 3 years ago. In 2018, Oldsmar's sewer use ordinance was updated to include this program and an annual charge for the private lift station inspection service. The annual charge of $250 is split into 12 monthly payments and included in the utility bill. If necessary, there is a $50 reinspection fee for stations that do not pass initial inspection. Each year, utility staff coordinates an inspection with the private lift station owner or the person responsible for the maintenance of that station. The condition of the station is assessed and documented and deficiencies identified. The inspection program requires that the facility have an emergency plan, backup power strategy, and a third-party maintenance contract to address maintenance and repairs. The operation of the station is inspected to verify that the pumps, floats, alarms, electrical panels are working well, and to verify that the wet well is free of grease and debris. Additionally, the contact information for each station is collected and maintained to provide quick access in the event of an emergency, such as an overflow. This program allows city staff to quickly notify lift station owners or maintenance staff when a private lift station experiences a problem or a sanitary sewer overflow is reported. During the time it takes for a response, the city will use their staff and equipment to control the discharge to the environment. This allows us to partner with our customers and protect the community. This proactive program has provided value to the city as there have only been 2 sanitary sewer overflows at private lift stations since the program inception. Notification and response times from maintenance entities have improved from days and weeks to minutes and hours. And now it's my pleasure to introduce David Porter with the City of Clearwater.
Good morning. My name is David Porter. I'm the Public Utilities Director for the City of Clearwater. I'm very pleased to be here this morning and make this presentation to you. This morning, I'll be presenting an overview of a unique project that we have undertaken to help us more aggressively and efficiently reduce the flow of infiltration and infiltration-induced stormwater and groundwater into our wastewater collection system. The project is called our Wastewater Collection System Point Repair Program. Our point repair program incorporates 4 of the elements identified as primary actions by the partnership. Those include infiltration and inflow analysis and studies, removal of hydraulic bottlenecks, resource sharing, and also repair and replacement of defective system components. City of Clearwater, being a founding member of the partnership, fully supports all the stated goals of the partnership and participates in all of its initiatives. Our utility provides wastewater collection, transport, treatment, and disposal services for over 110,000 residents who reside in the highlighted areas shown on the map. In addition, we also treat the wastewater generated by the City of Safety Harbor. Our system consists of approximately 350 miles of piping, 8,000 manholes, 78 lift stations, 3 water reclamation facilities, and 3 reclaimed water storage booster pumping stations. We collect, transport, treat, and dispose of approximately 14 million gallons of wastewater each day. The prevention of sanitary sewer overflows and the discharge of partially treated wastewater from our water reclamation facilities are 2 of the highest priorities we have. To meet these priorities, we must reduce the entrance of excessive stormwater and groundwater into our collection system during stormwater events and when the groundwater table is high. Excessive stormwater and groundwater which enter the collection system is collectively known as inflow and infiltration, as you've heard earlier in this presentation. Traditionally, I&I reduction has required the implementation of a linearly sequenced multi-step plan to identify where the I&I was occurring, then hire an engineer to design a solution, then procure competitive contractor bids to do the work to implement the plan of the engineer, and finally to take the project to City Council for authorization to spend the funds needed. Previously, we had to go through this sequential step-by-step process to correct each individual collection system defect. This process took a considerable amount of time. It did not afford an opportunity to reduce costs by leveraging the volume of work we did each year. It also limited the total number of defects that could be addressed each year. Our point repair program is a streamlined process that enhances our ability to address collection system defects quickly, thereby increasing the number of defect resolutions that can be completed annually while reducing overall costs. The main difference between this program as opposed to the traditional method of correcting I&I issues is that we've developed a master shopping list of sorts of products, services, and repair replacement work that are necessary to undertake the majority of the collection system cleaning, inspection, analysis, and repair replacement activities that we plan to complete each year based on our annual needs assessment. A comprehensive specification was then prepared, that included the entire range of studies and services needed. It was subdivided into 7 distinct groups of similar and related services. That specification was then utilized to solicit bids from multiple contractors to obtain the lowest cost for these services. We awarded a contract to each of the 7 distinct, we awarded a contract for each of the 7 distinct groupings of services to the contractor with the lowest cost, most responsive bid. We then took all these contracts to our City Council for approval as one large project. This method of bidding, awarding, and obtaining council approval required substantially less time and cost compared to completing these tasks using the traditional method. Having pre-selected a contractor for each grouping of like services allows us to conduct multiple work tasks concurrently based on identified emergency needs and planned repairs and replacements. The total annual budget for all of the work associated with this program is approximately $14 million. Time from problem inception and identification to the solution implementation can be reduced by up to 75% over traditional methods. This greatly helps us reduce inflow and infiltration into our system and the resulting potential for sanitary sewer overflows. An example of one of the sub-projects we completed during this first year of the program was the replacement of a large manhole located in the middle of the road at the intersection of Hercules Avenue and Range Road. This is a major roadway that is used by thousands of travelers each day. This area is largely light industrial, so large tractor trailers frequently travel this section of the roadway as well. This sub-project started on a Friday morning when we learned that a roadway depression had formed in the general vicinity of one of our manholes. The presence of a roadway depression can be a very serious matter, so we needed to be able to quickly determine if the cause of the subsidence was related to a pipeline or manhole defect, or if it was related to some other issue, so it could be resolved as fast as possible. Because we had contracts in place to address this type of situation, we were able to have our contractor on site and conducting the necessary investigative work within 2 hours. By the end of the day, the contractor had excavated the area around the manhole and determined that the manhole and its connecting piping had defects. They were able to immediately set up temporary wastewater pumping to prevent a spill, place the proper traffic control devices and detours in place, order the necessary repair components, and begin removing the damaged infrastructure. As quickly as the replacement manhole and piping arrived at the site the next week, the repairs were made. Within 2 weeks, all repairs were made, the roadway was completely restored, and everything was back to normal. No wastewater spills occurred, no traffic-related damage occurred. Utilizing traditional project methods would have delayed the completion of this work by weeks and resulted in substantially higher costs due to the extended traffic control and wastewater bypass pumping time, and the time to seek separate procurement approvals as a separate project. Another example project was that of another example project that was completed utilizing this program is the rehabilitation of a large number of existing manholes. Utilizing permanent and temporary flow metering, smoke testing, and video inspections, we determined that many of the manholes located in the Clearwater Beach neighborhoods were allowing groundwater to infiltrate or run through the walls of the manhole and through the bottoms of the manhole called the benches. These defects resulted in significant quantities of I&I-induced flow to enter the wastewater collection system during storms. We directed a project contractor to clean and seal 169 of the 340 manholes in the affected area. This resulted in an estimated peak flow reduction of approximately 200,000 gallons each day being experienced when our wastewater, in our wastewater pipelines, lift stations, and water reclamation facilities during a typical storm. The second round of manhole sealing is scheduled to begin in fiscal 21. This level of effort could not have been completed using traditional methods. It would have taken it at least 2 to 3 years longer. Another example is sewer pipelines are constructed of many short pieces of pipe put together with bells and sockets known as joints. Each joint has a gasket that is designed to limit the amount of groundwater that can enter the sewer line. Unfortunately, over time, gaskets lose their effectiveness due to pipe movement and/or gasket material age. Therefore, as piping ages, the amount of groundwater that can enter the pipe, especially during periods of high groundwater table, increases, which can cause wastewater flows to increase dramatically, putting stress on the sewer system itself and the lift stations and the treatment plants. These excessive flows can cause our sewers and lift stations to overflow, causing what's called an SSO, sanitary sewer overflow, or can cause our wastewater reclamation facilities to receive flows in excess of their design capacity, resulting in the release of what is termed partially treated wastewater, which means the waters received the majority of the treatment design, but did not receive the final filtration step. Utilizing our line cleaning, TV inspection, smoke testing, and flow monitoring project contracts, as soon as an I&I issue is detected, this allows us to more rapidly make repairs, such as installing a lining in a section of pipe that was found to be defective. This photo shows a section of sewer pipeline after it has been lined. Previously, it was leaking quite extensively. The pipeline is now like new and no longer allows excessive groundwater to flow into the sewer system, reducing the generation of excessive system flow rates and the SSOs that they cause. Finally, when in stormwater ponds and streets during an excessive rain event, that water can rise above the top of the manhole covers and create a flow of water into the manholes through the tops of the manhole covers at the joint and also where the holes you see on the sides are to allow you to open the manhole. Manhole pans are installed in all citywide manholes. These manhole pans prevent stormwater from entering our sewer system at manhole covers. Given that we have over 8,000 manholes system-wide and that we estimate that each pan can prevent up to 500 gallons per rain event, these pans can reduce the inflow into the sewer system by as much as 4 million gallons per day during a peak flow event. This can greatly reduce the stress on our sewer system and our treatment plants, and again, greatly reducing the risk of SSOs and partially treated releases of wastewater in our plants. So we are currently installing approximately 500 pans each year and expect to increase the rate of installation over time. This concludes my part of the presentation. Now I would like to introduce Mike Clark of St. Pete Beach. Mike?
Thank you and good afternoon, virtual St. Pete Beach. I'm Mike Clark and I have the privilege of serving as the city's Public Works Director, and we are excited to be part of this partnership. Today, we will be reviewing our new sanitary sewer force main pipe installation project. This project will reduce system hydraulic bottlenecks in the existing gravity main by providing for expanded sewer flow capacity. There have been 2 public meetings with more scheduled when we get closer to our shovel in the ground construction start date this October. As you can see, St. Pete Beach, with its world-class beaches, thriving tourism industry, and our historic Paso Grill district, is at the southern tip of the county. In 2016, the city commissioned a sanitary sewer system capacity study as part of a review to determine the cause of continuing sanitary sewer overflows during and after storm events. The study determined that the sanitary pipe system surcharges in several locations, and the root cause of the surcharging are system bottlenecks and limitations of the capacity of the pipe conveyance system. Put simply, the system does not have sufficient capacity for the current and future flow conditions. Following this study, the City Commission imposed a moratorium on new connections until the system has sufficient capacity to handle the existing and projected increases in flows. This project is the recommendation of the study. It is designed to alleviate the surcharging of the system and provide capacity for future development. The design team consisted of Kimley Horn, Stanley, and George F. Young. A construction contract for $16.5 million was awarded to Metro Equipment Services in January of this year, with a scheduled completion in December of 2021. This project starts in the south half of the island at 37th Avenue, where pump station number 3's force main discharges into the existing 20-inch gravity main underneath Gulf Boulevard. The new force main will extend the existing one, and using a combination of directional drill and open trench, it will go north, generally under the southbound inside lane, up to Gulf Winds Drive. The sanitary flows from the condominiums and hotel buildings on the west side of Gulf Boulevard are collected by 4 lateral collection pipes that parallel Gulf Boulevard under the west sidewalk. They currently discharge through a gravity lateral connection into the existing main line. The 4 lateral locations will be replaced by new lift stations that will connect to the new force main. As you can see, the first one's at 44th Avenue, then 50th, 55th, and 58th Avenue at the northern end of the project. Following Gulf Winds Drive north, we will drill underneath 75th Avenue, which is one of the 3 main entranceways to the city, and then continue north on Bogosiga Avenue up to 87th Avenue. At that point, the force main will discharge into the well at our master pump station number 1. We've been planning and designing this project for 4 years, and we are very excited to finally begin construction this October. Thank you very much. And I will be followed by Shelby Bowman, Assistant Director for Environmental Services with the City of Largo.
Thank you, Mike, and good morning, everyone. I'm Shelby Bowman, Assistant Director of Environmental Services for Largo. I will be discussing the Inflow Pump Station and Headworks project today. This presentation focuses on 3 of the partnership's strategic goals, including inflow and infiltration, system hydraulic bottlenecks, and repair and rehabilitation. The City of Largo is shown in purple on this map. The wastewater treatment plant is permitted for 18 million gallons per day of flow, and we see 12 million gallons per day on average. The treatment plant serves over 100,000 people in Largo and small portions of St. Petersburg, Clearwater, and Pinellas Park. The City of Largo was put under consent order in April of 2006 for sanitary sewer overflows, or SSOs. We were exceeding the capacity of the collection system, and wastewater was overflowing before it reached the treatment plant. The overflows prompted a consent order from the Department of Environmental Protection. As a result, the city set out to eliminate overflows to protect the health of our citizens and the environment. We studied the capacity of the collection system and designed 2 projects to deal with the hydraulic bottlenecks and rehabilitation. Both projects went into service in 2017, one at the treatment plant and one at the collection system. The collection system wet weather force main is doing a great job getting flow to the wastewater treatment plant and reducing the number of overflows we have during the rainy season. A force main is a pipe that our lift stations push wastewater through to get it to the plant. The project pushes wastewater from the collection system and pumps it to the treatment plant faster than before, creating a hydraulic bottleneck at the plant. We needed a way to deal with added flow at the wastewater treatment plant, and as a result, we completed the Flow Equalization Tank and Inflow Pump Station project in 2017, and it has helped to improve treatment and reduce overflows at the plant. We are continuously working to find inflow and infiltration to reduce the amount of flow in the collection system and the treatment plant. As a result, as a reminder, inflow is stormwater entering the wastewater pipe through a connection like a catch basin. Infiltration is groundwater entering the wastewater pipe through cracks and open joints. Inflow and infiltration studies identify these sources of water entering our wastewater system. The City of Largo is dedicated to a continuous cycle of study followed by repair. We also locate and repair bottlenecks. As Megan mentioned, a bottleneck is an area where the pipe is too small and it fills up with water and causes an overflow. We are able to identify these areas during heavy rain events. Largo continuously reprioritizes bottlenecks as we improve the system and experience more storm events. Largo most recently completed 2 hydraulic bottleneck mitigation projects, the first being the Wilcox Road and 137th Street North hydraulic bottleneck mitigation project, where we installed approximately 4,500 linear feet of new pipe. The second being the Jeff Road and Indian Rocks Road bottleneck project, where we installed approximately 1,400 linear feet of pipe. Both of these projects feed directly into Wet Weather Lift Station 20. Now that you know more about our collection system projects, let's talk about our treatment plant project. The Headworks and Inflow Pump Station project helped relieve bottlenecks and overflows at the entrance to the treatment plant. The cost of the project was $25 million and included coarse and fine screens to remove debris, an influent pump station to pump flow into the treatment process, and the equalization tank to help with changing flows. The treatment plant process works best when it treats a steady amount of flow throughout the day. If you think about your day, you wake up, take a shower, and create a lot of wastewater. Throughout your day, you use a minimal amount for flushing and cleaning. You may come home and do dishes and laundry and create a lot of wastewater again. The job of the equalization tank is to store the extra flow during those peak times like morning and early evening and release flow into the treatment plant at low flow times like the middle of the night. The equalization tank holds 5 million gallons. It was a $1.5 million line item in a $25 million project. The tank is an important complementary project to the wet weather project in the collection system. If you recall, that project pumped flow to our treatment plant faster than before. In the influent pump station and headworks project, we didn't only add a tank, we revitalized the first steps of the treatment process, including the headworks. The equalization tank allows us to pump 12 million gallons, our average flow, to the treatment process. As flow increases during a storm event, we dial in and increase flow at the plant, and the tank and the pump station work together to put a steady flow through our treatment process. The equalization tank also helps us with the current construction project, allowing us to stop flow for short periods of time to allow the contractor to complete their work. The headworks portion of the project revitalized a very old system. This section of the plant takes out additional debris and sand that can harm our treatment plant equipment. The city of Largo is currently working on rehabilitating the portion of the treatment plant shown in blue. The previous equalization project helps store flows when the contractor needs to complete repairs for this project. These projects were all made possible because of the support from our commission, city management, and state revolving loan funds managed by the Department of Environmental Protection. When under consent, it becomes more important to keep lines of communication open with DEP. They have closely worked with us and updated the consent order to reflect our ongoing efforts. We are continuing to improve our plant and meet the consent order deadline of October 22nd of 2021. Next up, I would like to introduce Paul Macelis, the Pinellas County Operations and Watershed Planning Section Manager.
Thank you, Shelby. Good morning, everyone. I'm Paul Macelis with the Pinellas County Public Works Department. This is the stormwater element of the partnership. The key goal for the stormwater component is the reduction of inflows into the wastewater network. We do this by looking for opportunities where drainage improvement projects would also yield benefits to the stormwater collection, to the wastewater collection system. For example, if we reduce the depth and duration of flooding over manholes, or if we remove a pump station from a floodplain, we can potentially reduce the volume of inflow into the wastewater network. I'll show you a specific example of how this concept can be applied to alleviate house flooding and to reduce flood depths over wastewater manholes. One of the areas I'll be talking about is located near Long Bayou, just south of Lake Seminole. This is an example of two types of flooding. The one on the left is tidal, and the one on the right is from rainfall. On the left, we see that a high tide has backed up onto the street through a stormwater inlet that normally discharges out to a coastal canal in Palm Harbor. A check valve can be added at the end of the stormwater pipe to keep high tides from backing up into the drainage system and out onto the street. However, water also has overtopped the canal banks behind the mangroves, so even if a check valve were added to the stormwater pipe, canal bank overtopping could still be an issue and cause street flooding. The red arrow points to a submerged wastewater manhole. When Public Works identifies such occurrences, we forward this information to the Utilities Department to address. In this case, a rain tray or similar insert has been added under the lid to prevent inflows into the wastewater collection system. On the right, we see an aerial view of several drainage ditches that run next to the Pinellas Trail in Seminole. The red arrow points to a wastewater manhole next to a ditch. In this case, the manhole lid is rather low and falls below the top of bank. And when the ditch runs full, the lid would potentially be underwater. Here too, an insert has been added under the manhole lid to prevent inflow into the network. Recall from last year when we collected stormwater and wastewater asset data from the municipalities and ran a GIS assessment to determine the flooding potential of those assets. Existing flood maps and models and the asset data were used to evaluate the depth and duration of flooding over the wastewater assets. That information was boiled down, and about 700 potential inflow reduction projects were identified and ranked across the county. This image shows some of the results from the flood analysis. It's an area south of Lake Seminole, the same as the manhole next to those ditches in that slide that we just saw. I'd like to draw your attention to the red shaded area, which is a stormwater inflow reduction project area. The red lines and circles represent wastewater assets that could flood during the 100-year storm. This is a location where some preliminary stormwater modeling was done to determine the potential benefits of a drainage improvement project. The yellow outline in the middle of the image is a parcel owned by Pinellas County Utilities, and it has an existing pond on it. Public Works is working together with the Utilities Department to use this county-owned parcel and address both drainage improvement and reduction of flooding over the wastewater collection system in the area. So here's the concept. We expand the existing pond on the county property to create additional flood storage. We divert water from the Pinellas Trail ditches to the expanded detention pond. We improve the conveyance capacity of the existing ditches running parallel to the trail. We throttle the pond outfall to the improved stormwater conveyance along the trail. And finally, replumb the drainage along neighboring streets to connect with the stormwater conveyance along the trail. The ultimate discharge is to Long Bayou farther south. This plan would result in the removal of 8 homes from the 100-year floodplain and reduces flooding over 38 wastewater manholes. The project construction cost estimate for a project like this is around $2.5 million. We are currently working with a consultant to identify and refine similar stormwater improvement projects with direct inflow reduction benefits. Also, the potential for inflow reductions are reviewed when new stormwater CIP projects are being developed. So up next is Megan Ross with Pinellas County Utilities on interlocal agreements.
Thank you, Paul. Moving forward, the Wastewater Stormwater Partnership is currently developing an interlocal agreement that allows us to interchangeably lease vehicles, equipment, and resources with each other to maximize efficiencies. This agreement falls under the resource sharing and maximization component of our action plan, in that it allows shared access across municipal boundaries to needed equipment and support for our collective wastewater and stormwater assets. This program is one that will be shared countywide among all of our partners who wish to participate. This includes spanning across all 24 municipalities, as seen here, that can benefit from this agreement. The resources pertaining to this agreement are those that are needed for wastewater and stormwater condition assessments, which can be a significant capital investment for a utility. One example of a proposed shared resource are Vector and closed circuit TV trucks. Vector trucks are used in conjunction with a TV truck to clean the pipe and remove any existing debris in order to get a clear visual inspection of the pipeline deficiencies. As seen here, a closed circuit TV truck is used to visually assess the condition of underground sewer pipes with a closed circuit camera. The combined total investment of these trucks can be upwards of several $100,000. Additionally, maintenance, parts, and staff needed to operate the vehicles can further this expense. For larger utilities, the return on investment is typically worth the expenditure. However, it can be a significant expense for smaller utilities. TV trucks are advanced pieces of operating equipment, fitted with software and technologies much like that of a computer. The equipment is necessary to maintain and assess the condition of subsurface wastewater collection assets to identify where repairs are needed. The data is evaluated and scored reviewed by engineering professionals, and pipes are then prioritized to be repaired, replaced, or lined. Throughout implementation of this interlocal agreement, smaller utilities can lease this equipment at an hourly or daily rate, and therefore allow them to make a more economical decision when it comes to assessing options for condition assessment of assets. We hope to gain a more efficient and effective outcome for all as a result of these shared resources. And on behalf of the Partnership Technical Working Group, I want to close by saying that we are all committed to investing in wastewater and stormwater infrastructure to protect public health and the environment. A special thanks to all of our steering committee officials who made this a priority and formed this important partnership. Under your leadership and through working together, we will continue to make progress towards our strategic action plan initiatives in furtherance of the partnership's goals of avoiding and mitigating spills, seeking opportunities to address drainage and stormwater issues, and increasing capacity and resiliency of collective wastewater systems. With that, I am going to close my comments and turn it over to Commissioner Justice again for closing remarks. Stay tuned, as immediately after this, we will have our Q&A session.
Thank you, Megan. Really, thank you to all our presenters today. We've seen some outstanding presentations, and I want to thank those that came today, and I want to thank our municipality partners, whether you were presenting today or provided some of the information that went into those presentations. Really, we've been doing this for a few years, but it's still a lot of good education on the basics, but also learning about what everyone is working on, I think helps us all move forward. And again, let me just say thank you for everyone who's been involved. This is what the goal was when we started, was to increase that communication and to increase the partnerships. With that, Megan, I'll turn it back to you so we can take some question and answers.
Thank you, Commissioner Justice. So now I'll open up the floor to questions. And before taking questions from the public, I would like to first ask that any steering committee members that are on the line, we'd like to open up for comments and questions from you first.
Hi, this is Nicole Figueredo. If you're a steering committee member, I'm going to ask that you virtually raise your hand in the chat. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Bradbury, for raising your hand. Please go ahead.
I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I just want to thank all of the public works directors throughout the county. I have enjoyed listening to the updates and the initiatives that they are putting forward to continue to work towards having a better system. And that is my comment, is just thank you very much for all of the hard work that you guys are doing. And the employees below you.
And thank you. Thank you for your support.
And Vice Mayor Albatron?
Yeah, hi. The City of Clearwater supports all the goals of the partnership and participates in all its initiatives. Prevention of sanitary sewer and discharge of the partially treated wastewater are our highest priority. And I'm really happy that all members in the partnership are working together to solve our wastewater concerns. Thank you.
And if there are no other steering committee members that would like to make a statement, Megan, I believe that we are ready to open up the Q&A session.
Okay, great.
So we have a question in the Q&A chat from Kathleen Beckman. And her question is, will the text and PowerPoint of this presentation be made available?
Well, yes, it will. That's a great question, Kathleen, and it will be posted on our website. The presentation itself will be posted, and we have a date of July 9th that we're going to get it prepped and get it on there. Again, the website is www.pinellascounty.org/partnership. And we'll also be posting links to the live meeting. This meeting was recorded, and so the full presentation will be available there as well. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a great answer, Megan, and a great question. And I'm going to kick this off with a question that some of our residents maybe have for the panelists. And how does all of this work affect their water and sewer bills?
Great question regarding bills and how we fund all of these important improvements. I can say generally that most utilities are funded through rates. So when you pay your bill every month or every other month to the water and sewer bill, that money goes directly to all of these investments. That's how we get funded. A lot of people think it comes from taxes, but it doesn't come from taxes. It comes directly from rates. And 100% of those rates go towards these improvements. So does anyone else have anything to add to that from our speaker panel? Okay, so I hope that answers your question. Nicole, you're on mute.
I apologize. Here's another question that we've talked about internally that residents have asked us, and maybe this is a larger question for the community. Since the start of this partnership, has there been a reduction in SSOs?
Great question. That's why we're all here, is SSO reduction. And I think we've all seen significant improvements. Of course, it's only been a few years. A lot of these improvements take time and investment. And as you can see, we're working on a lot of different projects and programs. John Palanchar, City of St. Pete, would you like to speak further to that question?
Absolutely, and thank you for the question, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. We are constantly improving our system to try and reduce the inflow and infiltration, which causes the system to surcharge and overflow. And as we continue to identify bottlenecks and reduce I&I, improve pumping capacity and treatment capacity so that we can empty those lines out in a more rapid way, we are seeing a reduced number of capacity-driven SSOs. We're still seeing during dry weather SSOs from contractor hits, where a contractor will be doing directional drilling or digging in a right of way and breaking our infrastructure, causing overflows even during dry weather. So that's something that we're always trying to address. Especially now during COVID-19, there is a tendency to wipe everything down. I want to remind everybody, don't throw that in the toilet. There is no such thing as a flushable wipe. When those get into the toilet, they create fatbergs. They mix with oils and greases and will block up the sewer system. So it's important to keep in mind that it's not just wet weather SSOs that occur, and there are contractor errors that happen that create SSOs for our utility and that we have to manage. And there's a responsibility of every single one of us to watch what goes down the drain, because what goes down there can block up the sewer system and create overflows. So we are seeing reductions in capacity related, but we need to keep our eye on the non-capacity related ones as well.
Thank you very much, John. We do have a question from Rugger Fan. Please state your name and then go ahead and ask your question. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Okay, I'm unmuted.
Okay, you can please identify yourself and ask your question.
Yeah, I'm DJ Hayes. I used to work for Megan. So the question is, I carry both sewer line and water line replacement policies. Could that be implemented countywide and maybe a rebate for just in case the sewer lines and water lines go bad? I carry those policies. Is that a good idea?
Well, hello, DJ, and thank you for your question. I believe your question is with regards to warranty type programs that exist. And those are private companies that offer those warranty type programs. You know, I'd like to say that's really up to every individual homeowner that to decide if that is right for them. It, of course, allows for you to pay a certain, you know, similar to a home warranty when you that covers your appliances. These types of warranties cover your private water and sewer lines. And what they do is you pay a certain fee every month, every year. And then if there's any type of a failure or issue, they will cover certain items. So we leave that up to every homeowner. I mean, some homeowners, you know, save money and to prepare for any type of appliance issues or issues like that. And others may need a warranty protection type system. So, but that is a good point. Those do exist out there, and we do encourage every homeowner to make those decisions for themselves. But do remember, those as soon as that your property boundary is crossed, that sewer line is yours and yours alone. So if it fails, if it leaks, if a backup happens, and you need a significant, you know, investment there, that is your cost to bear. So I just want to make everyone aware of that. Many people don't think about it until something bad happens. Does anyone else have anything to add to that? Great question. Thank you. And good to hear from you.
We have a question coming in from Sabrina on Facebook, and Sabrina wants to know how do municipalities decide which projects and studies to focus on?
Well, thank you, Sabrina. And you know, it's a very large task. We have billions of dollars of assets, and yes, how do we decide to allocate resources and time? And I think we all, that's really a planning function. And a lot of it's driven by condition assessments. So what you saw with the TV trucks and other technologies we use to evaluate condition, that's where we decide to target our resources. So using those various methods, we can help prioritize. I see Dave Porter, City of Clearwater. If you have anything to add to that, go ahead.
Sure. Good morning again, Dave Porter, City of Clearwater. Really, the planning stages can be put into 2 or 3 different categories. You know, so for the long term, all of us do things called master plans, and master plans are long range, far-reaching projections of what's going to be needed in the future based on regulatory changes that we think are coming, based on the growth rate of our communities, but also based on the technology and energy savings and environmental concerns. So they look at many different factors and help us then plan the long-term strategy for planning projects to move forward in the long term. But then there are middle term and short term projects too, like Megan was just talking about. So the middle term projects are those projects that we know about, that we know must be completed within a few years, and we're constantly working on those. And those are some of the projects you saw us talk about today. Then there are the short-term projects. Short-term projects are driven by the conditions that we see every day. There's not a day that goes by that any one of us here aren't faced with an entire host of issues that come up. Anything from very minor little details, little things that we can have our staff rectify in a very short period of time, to things that have become quite problematic. Something as simple as a car veering off the road and running over a fire hydrant. People don't realize just how much effort it takes to correct that kind of a problem. So we have both super long-term, or the master planning type work that we're constantly doing. We have the medium-term stuff that we're looking at that has to do with projects that we know must get done and that we've already planned for. Then there are those daily and short-term things that we have to deal with based on conditions each and every day, 365 days a year, by the way. So with that, I'll pass it back to you, Megan.
Thank you.
So we've had another question come in the Q&A chat, and it's, what's the best part of this partnership?
Great question. Well, there's so many good aspects to the partnership. it's really, if you see some of the projects and programs we talked about today, just learning from each other, a city or a municipality will implement something that's effective. And then we can all look at adopting something identical or similar that will help us all. So that's, the collaboration and the sharing of information is extremely beneficial. Dave Porter, City of Clearwater, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that in my opinion, the greatest thing that this partnership has to offer for all of us is the knowledge and experience that all of us have. So if you were an individual city that was completely on your own, you would have the knowledge and experience of your own staff. And that might include your director and your own senior staff. But in this case now, we have the knowledge and experience of all of these directors. And everybody here is an expert in their field, and all of their staff. So behind the scenes, there's telephone calls and emails that go back and forth between all of us on a daily basis. Some of these things I just talked about a moment ago, these little problems that come up during the day, some of them are very unique and they're very unusual. And it's something you may not have seen. There's a surprise waiting for us every morning, just about. It's not unusual that someone will fire off an email to the entire team and say, hey, have you seen this? What do you do? That level of interaction between us and the ability to get a solution taken care of very quickly and very efficiently is amazing. I've been in this business a long time, over 50 years, and I have never enjoyed the kind of the level of camaraderie and sharing of experiences and technologies that I've seen here. This is a one of a kind. This organization is the only one of its that I'm aware of across the United States of its type. And I know it's a model because other places are looking at it. But this is the wave of the future. This is the way things need to get done. So thank you.
Go ahead, Commissioner Justice.
Thank you, Megan. And David said it beautifully. And when we set this up a few years ago, it was during a kind of a time of crisis, so to speak. But now we're kind of working through all the normal day-to-day, building all these relationships, building this communication system so that if we do have a serious incident happen again, it won't be scrounging around looking for someone's phone number or who do I call. You already know who that person is, and we'll be able to respond to our constituents really, really quickly. And many of our constituents, they don't know if they're in unincorporated or if they're in Largo or Lellman or wherever. And so they expect that same level of service no matter where they live in Pinellas County. And the work that you all are doing is going to provide that. So I'm really grateful for how well everyone is really bought into the collaboration and just appreciate the good work.
All right, John Palanchar, City of St. Pete, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, and I do appreciate the comments and the interest in this. When we experience these issues, these stormwater issues, and they become worse as we see sea levels rise. We're a coastal community in many cases. We're a peninsula on a peninsula, and these events don't happen in one city or one municipality. They don't follow political boundaries, and so they're a regional problem and that we all experience together, and they require a regional response. And that's the benefit that we see coming out of this partnership, is that we can respond regionally.
All right, thank you all. Great answers.
So we've had another question come in through the chat. And the question is, how do your efforts impact the environment in the region considering climate change?
Okay, question about climate change. And I know that, resiliency is a large focus of our region and of all of our municipalities, particularly sea level rise. I think this would be a great question answered by Paul Meiselas if you want to speak to our vulnerability study.
Yeah, thanks, Megan. I'd just like to echo what John said about, us being a coastal community, a peninsula on a peninsula, and we're practically an island if you count the Anclote River across the top. And these are all tidal water bodies. So as sea level rises, all our coastal assets, like our wastewater assets, our stormwater assets, transportation assets, they all become subject to sea level rise and more frequent inundation. So what the county is doing is looking at that and trying to quantify the impacts of sea level rise and identifying those assets that are going to be impacted by sea level rise. The second step after that would be identifying what some adaptation strategies would be, and then prioritizing those and figuring out how to address that. If I can give you a stupid example, maybe, I drive a 4-door sedan and I live in a coastal community, and there are some spots where the streets go underwater during a spring tide. So if that keeps happening, I might have to upgrade to like a pickup truck or something with higher ground clearance. So that's a form of an adaptation strategy. But those adaptation strategies are gonna have to become very specific to the assets in question.
Okay, thank you, Paul. And Shelby, go ahead, City of Largo.
Yes, I do want to add to that each time that we do a renewal and replacement project, we are looking at sea level rise projections and resiliency. So how can we return the system back to normal after an event? So that is also, I'm sure, happening in each of our communities. As we renew our assets, we are looking at sea level rise for our projects.
Absolutely. Ann Bennett, go ahead.
Another aspect other than sea level rise is the more severe storms and weather that we encounter, whether that's a tropical storm or whether that's just heavier, winter storms or something. And so we're incorporating all of that into our planning. Most of us individually, and then the county and collectively, regionally, we're all looking at what does climate change mean to our individual utilities, and how can we adapt and make them resilient for the changing climate future.
Great, thank you.
So we've had a question come in from Facebook, and Terry wants to know, are there existing available education programs to educate the average citizen in individual efforts to help reduce water runoff and other ways that residents may help or hinder environmental impacts?
Well, great question. So first of all, on the question of education, yes, a number of us have different levels of education programs. I can speak of one of them. Actually, it's at the backdrop of Commissioner Justice. The South Cross Bayou Wastewater Water Reclamation Facility has an education program. There's guided tours. Of course, in-person tours have been put on hold, but they actually have education curriculum embedded in the school system, where children are learning at a very young age up through high school how these wastewater treatment processes work, and things like what not to put down the drain, and how it impacts our system, the whole water cycle, etc. And so we all have different levels of those outreach and education programs and other things like that. I know the city of Clearwater has a very robust program, and even has a trademarked character, Spatman. Dave, I don't know if you wanted to speak more to that.
Yes, in the same way that Megan was talking about having public outreach, the city of Clearwater does the same, and we've been doing it for many years. We do it not only on the wastewater side, but on the drinking water side as well for conservation methods. The Spatman program is the program that was designed for school-age children, and it's brought to the young kids in the elementary schools to encourage them to work with their parents to limit the amount of fats, oils, and greases that are discharged to the sewer system. One of our presenters earlier today talked about the potential for flushable wipes to come in contact and mix with fats, oils, and greases and create a blockage in the sewer. And I want to emphasize that because that's a real big problem for everybody that's on this panel today. And he gave it the name. The name is actually called a fatberg, which is interesting, but that's the name. And a fatberg is a blockage that occurs in a sewer system when fats, oils, and greases and wipes and other extraneous materials that really don't belong in the sewer, like paper towels, agglomerate and actually block the sewer. When a sewer is blocked, it creates a problem where the wastewater flows out of the manhole as an SSO, but also can back up into people's homes. So when anybody flushes fats, oils, and greases, or flushes flushable wipes, paper towels, or even dental floss, or things of that nature down the sewer, they're actually putting their own sewer system and really their own homes in jeopardy. So we have a program, like I said, called Fat Man, to help with one element of that, and that's the fats, oils, and greases. Another thing, this group, the partnership, has entered into an agreement with the Tampa Bay Estuary Program through a grant partially from the DEP and funded with the rest of us putting in funds as well, that coming this fall, I believe it is, Megan, correct? This fall, we'll be embarking on a pretty major public information and education campaign across the entire region to help folks, citizens, understand what their role in operating our sewer system really is and how they impact it and how you can help. One more thing, while I've got everybody here, one more thing I want to bring up, though, that you can help with immediately is when you have a major storm and water ponds in your yard, please do not open up the clean out for the sewer system in your yard. And people have done that in the past, and that creates, draining your yard into the sewer is not a solution to yard ponding problems. When you do that, you actually impact the sewer system greatly and create SSOs and treatment plant issues. So that's a major contributor to some of the SSOs and some of the episodes of partially treated wastewater we've encountered over the years. So again, this training program or education program we're going to be putting on with the Tampa Bay Estuary Program is going to address all of these things. That kind of training will be coming out soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. And also I want to say that, if you see, water pooling over manholes in the road or something of that nature, things that were shown on this presentation, Pinellas County has an app called See Click Fix. It's an app where you can take a picture, it automatically identifies where you are, it geolocates the problem, and it gets submitted directly to us, and we can route that to where it needs to go to get addressed. So you out there in the community are the eyes and the ears. You sometimes are seeing things when it rains that we may not be seeing. We don't have a visual on every single square inch. So you can submit those to the See Click Fix app. I know many cities have similar apps in their cities that can do similar things. But because of this partnership, if you're not even sure what city, you can submit it to See Click Fix. We route it to the right city it needs to go to. So thank you for that question. Great question.
We've had another question come in from the chat. How does the steering committee participate in your efforts?
Well, that's a great question. The steering committee, of course, is made up of a broad range of elected and appointed officials and community groups. And really, I think the biggest aspect is their commitment up front to this action plan. We agreed on the 3 goals. We agreed on an action plan. And coming together and understanding that all of these components are important and the investments that need to be made, we really, I think, bridged a big gap there. We have us as a technical group saying, here's what needs to get done. And we have the steering committee saying, we will support the needs that need to get done. And so I can't say enough about it, that it's just their guidance and support of these programs has been incredible, and when it really comes down to it, some of these things require rate increases on customers. And I mean, that's a big deal to raise rates of customers. But when you see the impacts and the improvements that we can do to the whole community that affect, the improved water quality, and improve all of these different aspects of public health, they are needed. So does anyone else have anything to add to that question? Good question. Commissioner Justice, go ahead.
Thank you, Megan. And it's, I think it's also that collaboration at our level and the communication of sharing those stories. And as David said so well before that, John said about that it's when you have an issue in one community, it doesn't stop at the city boundary, and that's not only for the technical folks or the ones I call the smart folks, but it also affects the constituents of all the politicians. And so when we hear those stories countywide, it does help us make those decisions, as we did by funding the I&I study. There were when we got the BP money, there was probably a lot more fun projects or a lot more sexy projects that we could do, but probably not more projects that were as important to maintaining the quality of our infrastructure and the quality of life we have. So that's the important part of it, I think.
Thank you.
So Megan, we've had another question come in the chat, and it's going back to the question about how these improvements will be paid for. And they're stating, when do we reach the point that our water and sewer bills are too expensive? How do you balance the cost versus the benefit?
Great question on affordability. So that is definitely, something that we always look at when we assess our rate plans. We all have different cycles of when we evaluate rates and recommend changes. One way to do it is financing. There are a number of financing options to utilities, and I think Shelby mentioned one of them, the state revolving funds. Those are funds that are very low interest financing options that utilities can apply for. We also have the WIFIA funds. That is a recent program that went into effect from the EPA. It's a federal program that can assist with low interest financing. And of course, you've got, private financing options as well. So what we all do is if there is more investment needed, we can finance those long term, and so really stabilize some of those increases and things like that. So did I see your hand raised? Dave Porter, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to go back and try to address what I think the poser of the question was trying to ask. And what I understand was, the costs for water and sewer service are rising, and that's true. And how do you, at what point, I think the question was, at what point, how do you evaluate whether the costs increases that you're having to see to maintain the systems that we have and to provide for the future? When do you decide when the cost is no longer a good fit for the community? And I think to say that, I got to go back and start somewhere else, and that somewhere else is to say, what is it that we do for the community? I know oftentimes we're not something that's out there that people think about all the time. It's certainly not something that's fun, and as Commissioner Justice said, it's not fun and it's not sexy, but what it is essential. And from the time that every morning when people wake up, the first thing that people come in contact with through their public services is the water and sewer system. So from the moment people wake up, you interact with us, the people that provide your water and take care of your sewage. Through the entire day, that's true too. So everything that happens in a community through the entire day is something that comes from public utilities, whether it's the business that you go to, that may be a restaurant that uses water that day to serve the customers, or it's a manufacturing firm that uses water to manufacture a product, or whatever happens during the day. Public utilities and our utility services are part of that. There's virtually nothing that happens that doesn't have something to do with what we do. And then again, at home in the evening, the last thing, last thing people come in contact with usually is us again. So we are probably the most essential service that keeps a community together and forms a community, because without us, you couldn't have a community. So then you have to ask yourself, okay, what kinds of things do we do? Well, we provide the water and we treat the sewage, but we also protect the environment. So if it wasn't for the sewage treatment systems that we have, and if it wasn't for all the work that we do to protect the environment, there wouldn't be one. There wouldn't be the beaches that we have. There wouldn't be the bay. So we would have, we wouldn't have that wonderful lifestyle that we have here. So when you take it from that perspective and you say, just what do we do? Then it means that we have to cost effectively, responsibly move forward all of the time to maintain those services that, the equipment that we have. And Megan said it really well before, billions, literally billions and billions of dollars of infrastructure is put into all of the utilities that you see here. So it's the largest asset that most communities have. So we have to spend the money responsibly and cost effectively to maintain those systems, to plan for the future, to plan for technological changes and regulatory changes that were designed to protect folks in the environment. So we have to do those things. So as the cost goes up, it's how going up at the most cost-effective way we can possibly do it. That's what those studies are all about. That's what this group is all about, trying to find a way to minimize costs while maximizing the benefit to the community. So I would like to be able to say there's some point at which we can say, oh, we'll never have to increase rates. I don't believe that's true. It's like everything else that we deal with. Everything has an increase in cost over time. The question really ought to be, could you ever afford not to do these things? Because if we did, I don't think we'd have the community that we do, and probably would not be able to have any community at all, because we wouldn't be able to be safe and have good health. So we do everything we can to minimize cost. We do everything we can to find a way to jointly get things done to minimize cost and to plan well for the future. And that's all I can tell you. We do the best we possibly can to keep it down. So thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
So we have another question coming in the chat, and it's rehabbing and replacing private lateral lines seems expensive and time consuming. What are the benefits to homeowners for making this investment?
Oh, okay. I see two hands go up. Why don't we start with John Palanchara, City of St. Petersburg?
Thanks. I appreciate it. And felt that I should lead this as that was part of the presentation that I led off with, was our private lateral rehab and replacement program. And so a lot of these laterals that were installed, in the late 50s to early 70s, they are failing. They're going to fail eventually, and what will happen is it will fail either slowly and release inflow and infiltration in the system, or eventually it will fail completely, and it will back up into your home. And so what we're trying to do is look at what type of incentive we can provide in order to have that replaced before it fails and before it backs up into your home and causes damage in your home. And the sooner that we can do that, the sooner that we can start realizing those efficiencies and those cost savings in our system, which will then result in better efficiencies and a slowing of the rate increases that we need to do to try and keep up with our system. So there are many benefits. The more that we can do ahead of time, before failures, proactively, reduces the costs long-term of maintaining our system, will reduce the cost long-term of a homeowner maintaining their system.
John hit every point I was going to mention, so we're there.
Okay, well, thank you so much, John. And yes, it's very important issue that we are working on, again, with the Tampa Bay Estuary program, on how do we get that word out, with those private laterals, because you call our utility and we say, well, that's a private lateral. It's not our responsibility. And in my experience, you might call a plumber and they say, well, if you don't have any backups, why are you calling me? So it's really kind of a disconnect that I think we really need to address on the private side, and we are working towards that. Okay, thank you.
So we've had a question come in from Mike Engelman, and his question is this partnership taking on a group approach to addressing the definition and problems of the so-called flushable wipes, or is this not a part of this collaborative effort?
Oh, it's a huge part of the effort. I know that we are all over social media. We actually partnered with Hillsborough County on a combined public outreach video that has been circulating via social media on what not to flush, sort of a more approachable video that kids and adults alike can understand, very easy to understand, that the toilet is not a trash can. And so just the more we can all get out there, we've all been on the news. I know I was on the news a few months ago talking about the issue and some of the issues it can cause. Some municipalities across the country are taking legal action. There's one in Michigan that is suing these manufacturers of wipes that are labeled flushable because they are, mislabeled. She's saying that really it shouldn't be labeled flushable. It's not flushable and it's causing all kinds of issues. So really a big issue that does need more attention, that simply these things don't belong in the toilet. They just belong in the trash can. So we are working together to get that message out in a number of ways. Appreciate the question.
So we have a question coming in from Alex. With a new inspector now in Tarpon Springs Grease Management Program and fresh eyes out in the field, will the city of Tarpon Spring be looking to make any changes to the grease program to prevent additional SSOs due to fog?
Oh, wonderful question about grease. Tom Kiger, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I will say word certainly travels fast in a small town. We've had a new environmental inspector for about 3 weeks now. So good to hear that she's getting out there. We are, anytime we have a transition in a program where we bring in new leadership, we're definitely going to be looking to make some improvements. That's definitely something that we had in mind. And we've got a great new inspector. We're definitely looking to make the program a little bit more efficient, a little bit more effective. And one thing I always go back to is, when you're looking at a program, is it's good to have measurable numbers on how effective it is. And, we've had our previous environmental inspector, it retired after 14 years. And over the last 5 years that he's been running that program, we've had a very good documented reduction in fats, oils, and grease at our wastewater treatment facility. So we've been successful so far, but anytime you have new leadership, we're definitely looking to see what changes we can make. Last week, we actually had her collaborating with staff from Pinellas County. Again, it's another example of collaborating within members of the partnership to see, what they're doing and if there's anything that we can incorporate from their program. Even just within this presentation that we've been going over the last few weeks, I've been forwarding information over from the city of Baltimore on their program to see if they're doing anything that we can incorporate into our program as well. And one thing we are looking over the next year or so is revamping some of our educational materials. Some of those are a little bit dated now, and we want to get up to date with messaging and that sort of thing. And that's definitely something we could collaborate with the partnership on and with our new leadership in the environmental management program.
Thanks, Tom. Grease management, such an important issue for all of us. I know that, it's really a public-private partnership. We've got inspectors that really have to go into small businesses to large grocery store chains and inspect these grease traps and gain compliance and work with people and educate them just every single day. They're in the field doing that. And it's been an amazing accomplishment to, getting grease out of our sewer lines is really the number one. Such a great goal. And so many other utilities across the nation are just now developing programs, whereas we've had a very, very robust program for many years now. Thank you. Mike Clark, City of St. Pete Beach, go ahead.
Thank you. And quite an excellent question. There's a partnership that is evolving, and this group is a significant part of that. When we, as the operators of the systems, explain what these fatbergs do and why we need to have projects and funding to fix our systems and then go into the restaurants and businesses to gain compliance on proper grease trap installation, sometimes folks who are not well educated, I've been running my business for 35 years, and who are you to come in here and tell me what to do? Well, we try to educate, but sometimes that whiplash is straight around to the elected officials and the policymakers in our cities. And when our policymakers and our elected officials who are part of this organization understand what we're trying to do, that whiplash coming back around to us is pushed off through more education at the political level in support of the technical level. And I just want to tell everybody how much that is appreciated here at St. Pete Beach and around our region, I'm sure, to know that our elected and appointed officials understand how serious this is. And we come up with, on the operational side, friendly ways to help people gain compliance. This isn't a situation where we're coming in with a hammer and saying, yeah, I hear you've been in business for 30 years, but by next week, you've got to spend $30,000 to fix your problem. That's not the case. We're here to help and figure out a way on the staff side of the house to gain compliance, and through the understanding of our elected officials helping us hold the line, so to speak. And so to Commissioner Justice and everybody on the committee, thank you very much for that support.
Thank you.
So we have a question in the chat. Will the components of the private lateral projects be the same and consistent across the county?
Well, great question, and thank you. So we do hope to have consistency in that language, whatever we end up moving forward with. And as John Palanchar mentioned in his pilot study, I think it really will be eye-opening as far as how what those results show. But absolutely, that is the goal, is to provide as much consistency as possible. Of course, we are different. We are different municipalities, and we may have different needs. So while we may have some consistency, there may be some key components that are a little bit different to adapt to the different cities and different needs across the county. Some of our cities are much older than some of the other areas, so we have to keep that into consideration. But absolutely, we do want to have something that is consistent countywide. Thank you.
We have a question coming in from Facebook. Edward wants to know, are there any programs to get water and sewer services run to residents in non-incorporated areas such as Tarpon Springs at a low to no cost other than a monthly usage fee?
Okay, well, great questions. I think that has something to do with possibly septic tanks and maybe getting wastewater services and getting on the city wastewater and water system. And there are available grants and funding options that are out there for those kinds of projects and programs. I can tell you that Pinellas County is looking at a septic to sewer program countywide to really identify and locate where we have remaining septic tanks and what are some of the things we need to do to extend our sewer system to some of these areas, and how are we going to pay for it. There's all kinds of considerations into that. So I see Dave Porter is raising his hand there. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, that's actually a fairly complex question. And, we here in Clearwater have undertaken 4 of these large projects where we brought sewer systems to unincorporated parts of the county and brought them into the city as part of our sewage collection system. All 4 of those were done in a way that the homeowner's cost was very minimal. It was about $900 per home, which was a small portion of the total cost. And we were able to do that because at one point there were grants available locally to be able to do that through various organizations. And unfortunately, some of those grants are no longer available. And even the state grant that Megan's talking about is targeted to specific water bodies, and we're not in them in some cases. So it's very complicated. Each community, I'm sure, is looking at it to see how that best fits for them. We've done 4. We're currently on hold until we can find a way to pay for them, because when the cost for bringing a system to an existing home, somewhere between $10,000 and $12,000, and when you only want to charge the homeowner a small amount to help encourage them to do that, the rest of the money has to come from somewhere. And that goes back to the rate question we talked about before. You always have to look at what are the things that we need to do. There's always more things that we need to do than we have money to do. So we have to look at balancing all of those needs and trying to determine where the best environmental responsible act is and where the most cost-effective service is. So we're all looking at it. I think we all have intentions of doing more when the costs can be worked out. But for the moment, it's going to be individually determined by each community based on their ability to pay. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Tom, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. That was an excellent question. And since it was directed over in the Tarpon area, I just want to let everyone know that the city of Tarpon does have a general plan for septic to sewer conversion. We worked with one of our consultants a number of years ago to identify environmentally vulnerable areas of the city that would benefit from septic to sewer conversion. We're working on one active project right now along Seabreeze Drive. It's a coastal area with a lot of septic tanks, and there's no sewer service there. And we're currently in the design phase, and we'll be able to extend sewer service to about 60 homes when the project goes to construction. And these are homes that are in coastal area. There's vulnerability from a sea level rise perspective. It ties in with our drive for sustainability and resiliency. And, you know, it does help definitely in the future to be able to expand, to have additional state and potentially and federal funds to offset those costs to homeowners. But we're continuing to move forward and chip away at the problem over the planning horizon.
Great, thank you.
So Megan, we don't have any further questions. I do have a statement though from Mayor Brown, and Mayor Brown would like to thank all the experts here that continue to work on these important issues for all of Pinellas. Mayor Brown, if you are still in attendance and would like to say something further, please virtually raise your hand. He may have dropped off the line, but Mayor Brown just wanted to convey that message. So with that, we are all out of questions and we're almost out of time.
Well, thanks, Nicole, and thank you to everyone who could join us today. Commissioner Justice and the steering committee for being here in support of the partnership and its goals. I'd like to say again, the video presentation will be available on Pinellas County's Facebook and YouTube platforms. Additionally, a copy of the slides as well as links to these different platforms will be posted on the partnership website at www.pinellascounty.org/partnership. And again, we'll have those slides up by July 9th. And again, thank you all for joining us today.